Okay, so in this video, I'm going to try and show you guys how to make the gear car. That's just what I call it. You basically use like a wheel that you spin to power the car, in comparison to using a Roblox seat. And it's sort of the basic thing you need to understand for making a mech bot in Roblox. Yeah, unless you could use buttons, but I don't think that Whimsical Building has buttons. Roblox Studios has buttons, so we'll get started by taking out our build tool here and adding a cylinder. And how you do that is you go over to the left side of your screen, as you can see right there, and going through the part type menu, which is up here, and then go down to cylinder, select it, and click the ground like this. Then rotate, and how you rotate is you go to the C tool thing here, and then this sort of ghost hologram thing shows up. Next, we want to sort of rotate this thing around so it's facing up. And we really want to sort of prepare for it to be on the car. So we're going to set it down on the ground. We might have to make some adjustments to like the car size in the end. So now we're going to go to our X tool, which is right here, this little thing with the 4 spheres and square. Apparently there's a person here. I'll say hello to him. Hello, person. And then we're going to smash our cylinder thing flat. So you go to increment over here on the left side and set to 0.0001. And then you want to still be adjusting its size and go to both here on the left side and make it into a big disc like this big circle thing. And the reason for this is you want walk area for your character because we're going to be making like a loop. Next, we'll paint it. We can paint it ahead of time like blue. I always prefer black. This time we'll do blue. And how you paint is the paint bucket tool over there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually click once again on our disk thingy here. We're going to click Shift C. Shift C copies it. And we want to make sure we left both on our resizing tool. And we're going to resize it. And we're going to watch this square here until it's like way down in the center like that. And we're going to set it back to normal over on the left and scale it up like this to about there. And paint that like black. So now you've sort of got this look going on. Next step is to add a hinge to the black piece. How you do that is you go to this cube in your toolbox. This thing over here is the toolbox. So we'll take that, click on this, click it again till it says side right, or if it says something else in your thingy that's a right, if I reset that tool, it will usually say all sides. It will say all sides and sides, and when you click on your side, it should say what side you have selected. Now you have this sort of thing going on. Next we're going to step away from it. We're going to click off somewhere, click shift, drag, and paint everything with the bucket tool here. Like, maybe all like a white. An annoying white. So now we can see everything, right? I lost my mouse. Okay. So we have this whole white object. The next step is to make a copy of this cylinder here in the middle. Lift it up. Go to the cube tool here. And set where it says side, all, and set it to smooth. And then resize that using the both setting and 0.0001 down to like a small stick like this. Not too small, still like usable. and where it says increment, click here and set this to 0.0001, and this is in the move tool, the arrows. It sort of looks like a perfect cross with sort of like a cube in the background of it. And we want to make sure that this is perfectly on this thing here. And we're actually going to color this a different color to make it easier to understand, like a sharp red. So now you can tell that the white is the base of the machine, and the red is what we're going to be spinning around. So now I'm going to test it, and how I test it is I click, I drag and select. I'm going to click Shift and deselect the base, and click Shift C, and grab one of these bubbles here, and drag it over here. And then go to the C tool over here, rotate it, and unanchor it. And see, nothing broke apart, it's all perfectly fine. Which means that we can take this red thing here, make a copy of it, drag it up like this, go to our resize tool. Both is still on for me, make sure both is on for you. Size it down like this, and then use normal real quick. Set it to normal, then set it back to both, sort of shrink it down a wee bit more. Use your move tool to sort of stick it in like that. And now you have sort of the basic rotation part. Next, we'll click it, copy it. Remember, Shift C is to copy. Use rotation like this. And then we'll extend like that. So then it will be all set up for us to rotate. And make sure that this bar that we just created here is all set up so that it makes contact with your Roblox character. Otherwise, your guy will just jump over it, or he'll like roll up over it. So you want to make sure that you can push on this bar like this, or it's also alright if it's like chest level like that. But this is alright for my thing. Now, the next step is to make a copy of this. Click on that, and also hit Shift and make a copy of this center bar thing. Click Shift C, move that whole copy up like this. And we're actually going to color this a different color at first, but then change it back. We'll make it like purple. And then we're going to make some changes. So we'll select this center bar and use normal to scale it down. Maybe scale it down a bit more. Then use both to scale it out like this. There you go. You can see where we're going with it. Then we'll grab the second bar, this bar here, pull it in like this. Paint it black so we can see it. Maybe scale it down a little bit because we don't need it to be out there. And make sure both is still on, so then it adjusts both sides of this, not just one. And we want to make it like a little bit bigger so that it's easier for it to push on any other wheels that it has to tell what to do. And then we just copy it and spin it around like this using the C tool and the Shift C. So yeah, remember Shift C and rotate, and you will get this sort of shape. Now I just showed you guys in a previous video how to make a machine like this, but this is sort of the machine we will be using to power the car. So now, the next step is to make sure it all works. And something I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to make this power lever even longer, because sometimes while your Roblox character is pushing on it, it will try and slide off, you see that? So we'll go to the X tool or resize tool, set both on right here, and then just resize it a little bit. So now everything's ready to go. Now we might make some adjustments here, because we are going to be having this machine power wheels. And when you make a car, you don't always want to have the gear above you. The reason I make the machine with the gear above it is so it can power other machines in a line. But since we're going to be making a car, I might flip it over here, and I'll show you guys how to flip it over. But first we're going to test it. And how we test it is before we test it, we will paint the whole top piece one color. So let me make all this red. That is the wrong red, and I can tell. Give me a second to make sure all my reds are the same red. There we go. So, now our reds are all the same red, our white is all the same white, and the next step is to make a copy of the centerpiece. So here's the centerpiece, and then you select this. So you have this and this selected. You do not want to select the long bar we have here, because you won't need it in this next piece. Then click Shift C and move that. And how you select all that stuff is you hold Shift and you can drag and you get a box like this that can select stuff, or you can just hold Shift and click on stuff and it selects it all. And then you can just copy it with Shift C. Now we have the two things we need to start working on our car. But first I'm going to test it all. And how we test it all is we hold Shift, click and drag and select everything we made, because we don't test the things we made, we keep a save. And then we click Shift C to make a copy, and we move our copy. And then we're going to test all this stuff. And how we're going to test it is we take this thing, which is the thing we're going to be powering with that thing, because this makes power when your character pushes on it when it's unanchored, and this thing takes power from that thing. So we're going to rotate this thing around, and we're going to put it up here. And this is how we test it, is if this thing can spin that thing, it works. If it can't, it doesn't work. So now we got to make sure that these wheels, these stick things, fit in between those stick things. As you can see, I'm having trouble using the rotate tool to make that all fit together. So what you got to do is you got to go over to the left side on the rotate tool, and the rotate tool is right here. And I'll slowly go over to the rotate tool one more time to show you. And if you go back over to the left side, we want to set our rotation to 1, right? Increment rotation 1. And this lets us do a nice smooth change. See that? Just like with the Z tool and the X tool, how they have an increment tab, the rotation thing has an increment tab. We just want to make sure everything's nice and lined up, because if these sticks that are inside this big wheel are just a little bit off, it will get what's called jammed up, which means it won't work. So let's just make sure everybody's going to work together. It looks good from my point of view. So the next step is I'm going to paint this a different color. I should have done it ahead of time, but I didn't. So I'm just going to fix that on the whole lot of it. So now I made that purple, or like a light purple, and I'm going to do that to that one too. So now we have a white thing, a red thing, and a like light purple thing. And the next step is click off in the distance, hold Shift, select what's red. So see how everything that's red for me is now yellow. Go over to your right side and click on the little chain thing. Go over to the left side and hit Weld to Last. And then go back over to the right side and go to the anchor shaped tool. And go over to the left side and click on Anchor. Now this is unanchored, but this isn't unanchored yet. So now the next step is to click in the sky once again, hold Shift, drag, select all these pieces here that are purple, and go down to the chain thing, go over to the left side, hit Weld to Last, go back over to the right side to the anchor tool, which is shaped like an anchor, go back over to the left and unanchor it. And as you can see, it did not work, but we do know why it didn't work. And the reason it did not work is because this and this are connected on this one. You see that? And I will show you, actually. Watch as I lift this up here. See how the hinge, that little yellow piece that's down there, that little yellow piece is the reason this thing spins. So if I really nicely, gently put this back on there, this still works. See that? But this thing did not have a hinge. So now we're going to fix that, and then everything should work. So how we fix it is, we get rid of our copy, right? We make a new copy. So we click on this white thing that's down here, this white cylinder that we made before. we click on the red base, this red stick that rises up to our big wheel, and then we click Shift, click Drag, select that, and then click Shift C, pull all of this out like this, and then paint it purple, and then click off in the distance, click Shift, Drag, and click Shift C, and now we made a copy. And I'm going to just double check and make sure I didn't make too many copies, because sometimes if you do that, that breaks stuff. So now we have everything we had before, plus the thing that should have worked but didn't. And that's the importance of saving an original copy instead of running it on your original machine, because if I did that with that thing, we would have totally had to have rebuilt it. But now we didn't have to, because it was saved. And now the next step is to test it and run it. But because this video is getting sort of long, I'm going to split it into 2 videos. So, see you in the next video.